Welcome to DFW Running Talk. I'm Chris Detzel, so let's get started. All right, welcome to another DFW Running Talk. I'm Chris Detzel, and today we're going to talk a little bit about nutrition, something that I think some runners do really well at, and some runners just don't. And so I think it's a very important topic and discussion. And so our discussion is with Wendi Irlbeck, and she is at Nutrition with Wendi. Wendi, how are you? Lots of Wendy's there. Of course. Wendy, tell us a little bit about yourself before we just jump in and ask a bunch of questions around nutrition and diet.
Absolutely. I'm a registered dietitian, sports nutritionist, lover of the Lord, and I have moved over 40 times. So I recently just moved to Dallas, Texas, but we have worked with a number of clients and athletes over the years that are from Texas. So
Yeah.
that's what's new and exciting in my world. So I wanted to share that I love Texas. I love our country. I love the culture here. But I grew up in southeastern Minnesota. My dad's a crop farmer. I grew up doing chores like rock picking. I've always loved health, fitness, nutrition. It's been a huge part of my life. So whenever I talk about myself, it is always going to be geared towards health and wellness because I love helping people. I love helping people solve problems. I love helping people feel empowered, encouraged to do really hard things. So that is really something that I hope we can explore today, Chris, and what you do with your group and community is running is hard. How
Yeah.
can we transform our mindset to do those hard things and have fun while we're doing them?
Yeah. I think something I've always said, and I'm sure you probably agree, is that if you can get your nutrition down and diet down, that's probably 80% of the battle. 80%. I think it's that high. I think the exercise is the rest, the 20. I don't know if you agree with that, but I do think that obviously being consistent at running or whatever exercise you're doing is key, but I think the nutrition is the most important part. So that's why I think it's an important conversation.
I love it. Nutrition is your secret weapon, and sleep is important too because sleep
Yeah.
drives our appetite. And
We'll talk about that then. And again, feel free to be, I told you to be as just, hey, this is it. This is what happened. And just be yourself. I was talking to you earlier about your social media posts and things like that. And I was like, she's pretty hard hitting about this stuff. So I was excited to have you on. So you've worked with such like a ton of different uh, a diverse range of different athletes within your career, it sounds, and from what I can tell. Can you share some of the most rewarding experiences or transformations you've seen in your career?
absolutely, Chris. So I'm so blessed and I'm so grateful because God really put me in a good position to work with kids, young athletes. Part of why I do what I do is because I want to be the person that I needed when I was younger. I didn't have the best nutrition. I often underfueled. I also discipline in certain areas like sleep. That was something that I didn't have. We were playing Nintendo 64, which most kids, but I do firmly believe, love it or hate it, the reality is that what you put in your body has a direct influence on your mood, concentration, focus, performance, injury risk, disease risk. So it affects every single person, whether you're a young athlete or an adult. So I have been blessed. One of my most rewarding clients, his name is William, and he was a high school lineman at the time. And we chipped away and lost over 100 pounds, and he transformed his lifestyle. Now he's like bodybuilding. He's incredible. That was one of my first football players when I started my business. Very rewarding to work with him because he was so focused. He really just didn't know. And what's so cool about it, Chris, is that he had taken advice from strength coaches that said fast all day. That's the best way to lose weight.
Ugh.
Just do rice and chicken. And he just didn't know. And his parents were amazing. They trusted me to work with him, and we got him eating breakfast. He was eating multiple meals per day. He completely transformed his lifestyle, his body composition. He became one of the football captains. And then an adult, which is so rewarding, that he had some stuff going on in his life and just realized that he needed a change. And he actually grew in his faith along the way, but he lost over 80 pounds. He
Wow.
overcame suicidal ideation. He's a medical professional, and his story will forever live with me. In fact, it's going to be in my Devotions with Wendi book that I'm writing. But those folks knew that there was something missing in their life, and they knew that it had to do with their lifestyle and nutrition. So we didn't do anything crazy. We focused on eating real food consistently day after day and had a modest calorie deficit. And they were all actually, a few of these other people are runners now too. So The gentleman that I'm talking about, he now does cycling. He does 10Ks. He travels to other countries and he does all these
Yeah.
endurance events too, which people have they have so much disrespect, Chris, sometimes. Hey, you can't run and lose weight at the same time and maintain your muscle. Well, that's
True.
actually not true. And his DEXA scan proves that. So we have some really great clients, some really great anecdotal evidence as well, just the testament to proper fueling, proper sleep, proper meditation, stress management really does make a huge difference.
Yeah. I've been around a lot of runners for a long time now, and some runners you can tell are really focused in on what they eat in the morning, afternoon, whatever, right? When they're and most of those runners that are very serious about that understand that you have to eat right and you have to eat. So that's one. But two is there's also this other view though of you've got these runners that are marathon runners and have run 20 marathons. And when you look at the kind of their weight and things like that, I think a lot of times their view is, hey, I can just go eat whatever I want. Like I ran a marathon, now I can go eat 6,000 calories on just one setting. It was like, can you talk about that mentality and what is healthy, what's not healthy, and things like that for runners?
Absolutely, Chris. So we work with a lot of high school cross country runners,
Oh,
masters athletes too, that are doing triathlons, duathlons, half marathons, 50Ks, etc.
yeah.
And it's so interesting, incredible people running a crazy amount of miles. I've only done one half myself, and I ran cross country in high school, but I will not run past 5 miles because I have so much hunger. I'm like ravenous, and it doesn't matter how
It
much
does.
protein I eat. I just feel so much more hungry, which that is a challenge I think for a lot of runners is that they have this hunger, and if they're skipping meals, they're not eating enough protein, enough fiber, not drinking enough water, not managing their stress levels. They have this ravenous hunger, and it leads to overeating, and then
Yeah.
it creates this perpetual cycle, right? Of now I feel lethargic. Now I've got to punish myself with more miles. And then you get injured. And then the cycle repeats itself. So I would say for a lot of runners, what I've found in our work as dietitians is that they're often over consuming carbohydrates and under consuming in protein. So we teach
Mhm.
you strength training too. That's important from a strength
For
training
sure.
will make you a better runner. Slide that in. That's important. But eating more protein. So 2 grams per kilogram of body weight per day for protein, and then obviously you can adjust your carbohydrates 30 to 60 grams for every hour of activity. If you're trying to maintain weight, gain weight, lose weight, we can obviously titrate our macros. But fundamentally, most runners are over consuming in carbs and they're
Yep.
not getting in enough protein.
So that's to my next question is a lot of runners believe that they should eat a bunch of pizza or pasta the night before for a big run. And I know a lot of people that do. I don't. I'll eat fish and I'll eat something good, but I don't want to be heavy the next day. Can you talk about like nutrition for a race, big race, 50K, half marathon, marathon, whatever, the day before? I don't know if that, yeah,
It depends. Obviously, yeah, fueling for a 50K, you have to do your nutrient timing, which I have a 4-2-1 chew, nibble, sit fueling strategy. I have multiple blogs on my website, nutritionalwithwendy.com. It talks about exactly what to eat the night before a race and then obviously the days leading up. You never want to try new foods. You
yeah,
always want to prioritize things that work well for you. Carbohydrate loading is unnecessary for a half marathon. If you're obviously doing a 50K, that's a different story. But truly, the days leading up to your race, regardless of the distance, you want to eat familiar foods. You want to focus on minimally processed things, obviously a balance of carbs, protein, healthy fats. Say the night before would be salmon. Those omegas are really great. They're also
yeah,
going to support hormone health, good source of protein. And then, of course, some rice. You could do whole grain pasta. You could also
100.
and fruit. I would discourage vegetables the night before because
Mm,
obviously fiber, it can lead to GI distress. But for a lot of people, if you've practiced this and you know that, hey, that meal works really well for me, I have a lot of energy the next day, that's fantastic. I do know some runners that like to, it depends on if it's a half marathon or a full marathon, but
yeah,
ultimately the 3 to 5 days out, you really should be having a normal, carbohydrates should be prioritized. There should not be any carb loading the night before because our glycogen can only store between 300 and 500 grams between liver and muscle. So you can only store so much. So you could try and stuff it full the night before, but again, it's not going to serve you and it's likely going to make you feel lethargic. So what we would recommend, right, is like I said, in the days leading up, You want to have, your rice, your oats, extra fruit, do more sweet potatoes. Those are also rich in
Mhm.
potassium as well. So avocado. You really just want to eat balanced meals and pizza, beer, all those things after.
Yeah.
Think about thinking about your training and how hard you worked and how much pressure and stress your body has endured. And there's inflammation from that exercise. So one of the best things you can do to mitigate that inflammation, help your muscle recover, avoid cramping,
Mhm.
high antioxidant rich foods like berries, cherries, anything that's rich in polyphenols. Walnuts are also excellent as well. And I have some anti inflammatory blogs. So lots of stuff thrown at you. I get very passionate.
You are very passionate. I love that.
It's a lot. So people take your notes, listen to this again. Chris has had a lot of good guests on before. So I'm sure you guys are used to taking notes because everybody's dropping knowledge bombs. And
It's funny because I've run 50Ks and I have a lot of friends that do 100 milers and all of those kinds of things. And so a lot of times, especially on trail races, you have these really great like stops that they'll have lots of sugars and carbohydrates and whatever. And plus you have this big bag of stuff that you're carrying. You have your drink and then you can put a bunch of stuff that you might carry. And I've even looked at healthier options rather than just stopping at the aid station all the time. Do you have any? Because a lot of those folks just eat what's ever there. And it's hard not to because you got to eat and because you are losing. So, any thoughts around that?
yeah, so I have a team of dietitians too. So the last gentleman that I worked with, the 50K, oh my goodness, bless his soul. His legs would not go and he just ran out of gas. And he
Yeah.
was so sick too. But one thing that worked in his other 50Ks, he's going to go redeem himself and run another. But the last ones that we did was obviously honey, applesauce packets, rice cake with jelly. For me, I'm all about budget friendly too. And obviously, it has
I was about to say that those are budget friendly for sure.
exactly. It's expensive. Life is expensive right now, especially races.
Yeah.
Your runners, you guys know, you're entering all these races, the equipment, the training, it's very costly. So I'm a huge proponent of why don't we use tart cherry juice? You can also
Mm.
do honey, you can do maple syrup, you can do lots of rice cakes carry well. And then even white bread, right? Because there's no fiber in it and it's very cost effective. If you're
Mm.
someone I'm struggling to get in 600 grams of carbs, some of those FIS gels, like number one, they don't always sit well with the gut, but they're so expensive. So honey, applesauce, maple syrup. You can bring those as little shooters too. I have our athletes like applesauce. We pack those things because when you run out of gas, you run out of gas, right? So
Yeah.
it's a quick way to refuel. It's also a little bit healthier too if you can do local honey because it supports the immune system. So
Hmm.
honey has been a game changer for a lot of our.
Seems so hard to take though, like honey, whenever maybe you warm it up or something on your hands whenever you're running to, oh, so it just goes down. You talked a lot about protein and how important that is. Can you talk a little bit about more of that? Because I think a lot of people take a lot of carbs and maybe miss out on the protein that they might be getting.
Absolutely, Chris. So just for folks, just so you know, the recommendations, ACSM, 3 to 5 grams per kilogram of body weight for carbohydrates for, weightlifting, training, 5 to 7, it gets greater with more endurance. And then when you're running 50K, you're looking more 7 to 10 grams per kilogram of body weight for carbohydrates. Protein, we want to look at research supports 1.4 to 2 grams per kilogram of body weight, and that's found in the ISSN position stand paper. All those position stand papers are fantastic, free access. I am a certified sports nutritionist. Those position stand papers were what got me through grad school because I was in a clinical dietetics program. But I loved the fact that the data supported greater protein intake for endurance athletes in preserving lean mass, protecting bone mineral density, also reducing the risk of injury, illness, stress fractures. According to the ISSN position stand
Yeah.
paper, 1.4 to 2 grams per kilogram of body weight per day for endurance athletes. And more protein will help reduce the risk of injury, illness,
Mm.
protect lean mass, help with muscle recovery. So if you're eating 30 grams of protein per meal and then roughly 15 to 20 grams of protein at snacks, obviously greater body weight, greater endurance, more miles, more protein is needed. This will also help satisfy your energy needs from an appetite standpoint. So if you are someone that is trying to lose weight, you are going to need to eat more protein, and you can
Yeah.
even do 40 grams of protein at 3 to 4 meals per day, and then do 15 to 20 grams at snack, in addition to your carbohydrate
Are
sources.
you saying that you do 40 grams every single meal or overall? Like every meal do 40 plus?
So 25 to 40 grams is what we recommend. If you're someone that's running more miles, that's more stress on the body, right? And muscle breaks down. So
Yeah.
you need to consume more protein. Now, if you're someone that is trying to lose weight, you need to be in a calorie deficit. So if you don't have enough protein, you are not going to experience satiety. And that's why people can eat pizza and fat
Yeah.
carbs, but never be satisfied. That's why I'm telling you,
Mm.
according to the research in the ISSN, you can consume up to 3 grams per kilogram of body weight per day, and it will not negatively affect your liver, kidneys. In fact, most people, like I said, need to consume more protein, but especially runners. But just try this. People that are listening, just give this a try. Start tracking your nutrition, become self aware so that you actually know, oh, I'm eating 100 grams of protein per day, or I'm eating 150 grams, or wow, I'm not even getting in 100, which is not ideal because for every decade after 40, we lose 8% of our lean mass, Chris. So most
Yeah.
runners that are
I
running
know.
these 50Ks are over the age of 35, 40.
Yeah.
So you need to eat more protein because you're fighting off age-related muscle loss. So yes, I'm
Yes.
super passionate because I want people to be healthy. And I think that there's governing bodies out there that withhold cutting-edge data, which I'm sharing because it can transform your body. It can
Yeah.
transform your life, your risk of disease. It will make everything better by consuming more protein.
One is your nutrition. And then, like you were talking about, the protein is so key, especially as you get older. And then weight training is huge, especially when you get older, because like you were saying, you lose a lot of the muscle and stuff like that by a large amount as you get older like this. So it's a good point. I just thought I would say, I agree.
So I was just going to say too, Chris, because when we talk about protein, quality matters, right? Instead of
Yeah.
people are like, I said quantity. So I want to make sure that quality protein sources too, like beef, chicken, eggs, fish, steak are the highest quality, Greek yogurt, rich in leucine.
Yeah.
I just get a lot of any of the podcasts that I'm on when we were talking about runners notoriously are either plant-based or vegan, which is completely fine. We
Yeah.
work with vegan athletes. So I just want to make sure that those that do follow a plant-based diet understand you're going to have to consume
That's right.
more tofu, more chickpeas to get the same benefits that you would from animal proteins. And it's because of the leucine content, but then also the bioavailability. So eggs are like nature's superfood.
Yeah.
Ramen. So eggs are great if you can integrate those in fish and steak. But if you are vegan, highly recommend using creatine monohydrate as well because you're not eating meat. So you're not getting creatine like you would if you had consumed beef or salmon.
Yeah. We take creatine just a little bit every morning, put it in our coffee and let it dissolve and then take it like that. And then I don't know if that's the right thing to do, but
I was just going to say, just so you know, my friend Dr. Scott Forbes, he's a creatine researcher out of Canada. I've met him at many of the conferences that we've both spoken at, and creatine and caffeine compete. So you do not want to consume creatine with your coffee
oh,
if it is caffeinated. So it'd be ideal, right, if you just you obviously consume it with a carb source because it's insulin mediated. But if you do your creatine in your tart cherry juice or your protein smoothie or your Greek yogurt with berries or even in your oatmeal, but don't consume it with your coffee.
even berry. We do eat Greek yogurt too in the morning with berries and things like that. So I think that's where we'll put it, or at least I'll put it there. See if my
No,
wife do the same thing. And now,
if you read the position stamp papers too, you'll be like, oh, that
believe it.
it's not like you're not absorbing any. It's just obviously if you're taking it, you want to maximize the potential of the absorption.
Just drink coffee by itself then, because I can't get rid of coffee.
No.
No, I don't know. I wouldn't. No, that's good advice. I'm already glad. I've already learned a lot already. So this is great. For our listeners who want to take their nutrition to the next level, can you walk us through what works when somebody works with you? What does that look like? And what can someone expect in those first few sessions?
So, like Chris, when we work with clients and athletes, we do a initial consultation. We sit down with you, explore your routine, what you're eating, what your training looks like to make sure that you're consuming enough calories,
Yeah.
quality calories, right, to optimize whatever the goal is at hand. We meet either virtually or on site, and we have a membership too, which we can, meet with you once a month, once a week, every other week. It just depends on the person and what their goals and commitment levels are. But we have many opportunities to help people without even talking to them actually through social media.
Right.
I would love to do coaching, but I'm going to consider it or think about it. Go follow my Twitter, go follow my Instagram. I share 10 to 15 daily free tips, those pages, and you can literally get a free meal plan with the calorie, the protein, everything broken down for you. But if you do want to really take things to the next level, that is having somebody hold you accountable. And you know this, Chris, like you said, you have a running coach. Every coach needs a coach. So
Yeah.
someone to take, right, the programming off your hands to check in with you so that you can actually enjoy the experience of whatever the training is. Or if you are trying to lose body fat, which can be very cumbersome, having somebody who knows what they're doing and has a system that works for you, that's easy to follow, that's sustainable. That's the biggest thing with diets, that diets are not sustainable. There's always that.
That's right.
And most people regain the weight. So if you're a runner too, that you're having seasons where you're doing multiple races, you're chronically injured, you just can't recover, you just have these nagging injuries, we can work with you. We can put the right foods in at the right time to help you recover and to return to a sport that you love, that you can continue to run for the next several decades. That's what it would look like to work with us.
That's great. People want to run longer and they are doing running longer and as they age up, things like that. So it is fun to watch, but I think nutrition is the key and hiring a dietitian, I think is really, I think it can only help you in a big way. Like I said before, the most important thing you can do is your diet in addition to working out.
Oh, what's that for you cut out?
So there's a lot of people that hesitate to work with a nutritionist. What would you say? Why are they hesitating? And why is it so important to get your diet right and you work with somebody to help you?
Absolutely, Chris. So I think for a lot of people, so I'm a registered dietitian nutritionist. Anyone can be a nutritionist, but not everybody can be a registered
Yeah.
dietitian nutritionist. So that is just a point that I make because there's a lot of bad nutritionists out there. There's a lot of bad dietitians. There's bad doctors,
Yeah.
bad egg in every profession. So I always tell people if they aren't listening to you, you feel frustrated. I don't blame you for not wanting to work with the dietitian. I don't blame you for not wanting to talk about your health with someone that you feel like isn't going to help you. They don't care about you. They aren't listening to you. They have poor credentials. There's red flags with their social media, whatever the case is. I think that social media has really distorted our profession and influencers and just the way that the media runs with the narrative. So, what I would just say is to anyone out there that is looking at hiring a coach, look at their credentials, look at what they're doing, look at their testimonials, talk to them, actually have a real conversation with them. Do they actually care to help you or do they just want your money and they won't help you, which a lot of influencers do that. And it's super frustrating, Chris. That's why I am so passionate because I hate when I hear about girls getting an eating disorder or older
Yeah.
women struggling with their weight and they hire this coach that just takes their money and is not compassionate and doesn't actually get them results and then lies to them and scams them. That is just one of the biggest frustrations I have. So there's always a perfect personality. I am intense for sure, but I care about people more
Yeah.
than anyone will ever know. And any of my clients and all of our testimonials, they will say that Miss Wendy just loves me. She cares about me. She wants me to be my healthiest, strongest, best self. And that's why she pushes me and she holds me accountable because nutrition is your secret weapon, right? You're not paying me money to tell you good job. You're paying me money to hold you
Yeah.
accountable, to give you a plan and to make sure that you follow through because if I wasn't, I wouldn't be doing my job.
100%. And there's questions I should have asked you that you're like, you should ask me this thing that I didn't ask that you would want to get out there.
But we talked about the weight, we talked about protein. I think honestly, sleep is very
Ooh,
important.
it's a good one.
Why is sleep important? Like the morning, the question of should I run early in the morning or should I take a rest day?
Yeah. I think that sometimes as I get older, I find it harder to sleep longer. I'll get up a couple times in the night and then fall back asleep. And a lot of times it's pretty restless. I mean, if I can get 7 or 8 hours, it'd be amazing. Probably get 5 to 6, maybe sometimes 7. Let me think about that. My wife would say I'm wrong. 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3. Okay, I do get 8 hours of sleep, but I wake up a couple times. Fair enough. Because I try to go to bed at 8:30 or 9. I just don't go to bed late. Do it?
I said, that's why you think that's very, 9 o'clock is good. 9 to 9:30, circadian clock.
Yeah. And I probably get up around 5, 5:30 and just mess around a little bit. But I do think it's important, and especially if you want to live longer. I think sleep is the secret weapon. Maybe that's the secret weapon instead of just diet. I think it's sleep, like you
Nutrition is
said. How can people get in touch with you if they want to say, "Hey, look, Wendy seems awesome. Let's do this."
First up, Chris, thank you so much for having me. And if folks want to get in touch, whether it's for themselves as a runner or their young athlete, or if you're a coach, go to
Yeah.
nutritionwithwendy.com, and that's Wendy with an I. We have a get in touch form. It's a contact form. You can fill that out. One of our dietitians will reach out to you. You can also follow on social media. We also have the store, Not Today, Satan. You could send me a message on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. The website's always the best way. Go through that contact form. Check out those blogs and resources. There's tons of information on how to fuel your next race. If you're looking to mix things up, those resources will serve you really well. And recipes, tons of recipes, and our membership is available as an option.
Wendy, this was excellent. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in and listening to another DFW Running Talk. I'm Chris Stetzel, and thanks. Make sure you rate and review us. We need the ratings and reviews to get known more. Thank you.